Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Friday morning the 10th of January and it's a proper chilly one here in Northern England. Even I felt like putting on a coat this morning. Turns out I didn't, but -5, 23 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a bit chilly. It's gloves weather, but I can't find my gloves. Anyhow, we're going back to the Sebastian Rogers case today. I had a day off Sebastian's case yesterday and talked about the Delphi case. So go and check that out if you missed it and you are following the Delphi case. So I want to talk about the Amber Alert and why Sebastian Rogers got one. Ex-FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer has an opinion about it. Was Sebastian Rogers abducted? It's possible, very possible. And is that why they issued the Amber Alert? Let's talk about that. So, this is Jennifer Coffindaffer. She is allegedly an ex-FBI agent. She did a live stream on January 8th, so this is a couple of days old. I'm going to play you a little segment here where she talks about the 27th of February, a day after Sebastian went missing, when the alert for Sebastian was upgraded from that of an endangered child to a full-on Amber Alert. So let's listen here.
All right, moving right along. The 27th. The 27th is very significant because law enforcement, again, this is all about law enforcement. Law enforcement says at 3:25 p.m., they upgrade from the endangered child alert to an Amber Alert. It wasn't always an Amber Alert. It was an endangered child upgraded to an Amber Alert. Let me tell you what law enforcement said as to why. Based on, this is I'm quoting, based on additional investigative information. So based on the investigation that had been done on the 26th, they determined on the 27th that they needed to make this an Amber Alert. And of course, they needed to make this an Amber Alert. You know, an Amber Alert typically signifies a child being somehow abducted or taken in some way. And it makes sense to me that their investigation started veering in that way. Now, we're not going to run through all the different scenarios and all the different people that could be involved. We're going to stick with what law enforcement says. But this is telling. They also say they are worried. They're worried because they say Sebastian is not dressed properly for the cold. Now, I looked it up, and you can look it up too. If you look on that date, on the 26th, if you look, it was cold. It was in the 30s, if not, actually the bar graph that I saw, I just saw it stop at 30. Could it have gotten a little bit colder than 30? Perhaps. I heard somebody else mention the 28 degrees. I don't know exactly how cold it was. It was cold.
All right. Well, Jennifer, you might want to go along and take another look at the weather. On the 26th, it was warm. Should we look at the weather together? All right, and then we'll come back to the Amber Alert. So here we have a website that gives us past weather information. So if we go down here to the 25th, that was the Sunday. People are misreading this as saying, oh, it was the night of the 25th into the 26th. That was 36 degrees, so nearly freezing. No. Click on the 25th. This is midnight on the 25th. So, you know, it's ticked over from the 24th into the 25th. Look at it. In the day of the 25th, it warms up. It's cold that night, 24th into 25th, then it warms up. Warms up a lot. What happens on the 26th? Well, again, this is midnight, 25th into the 26th. The average temperature was 54 degrees. Now, I've seen websites that say 57 degrees, but it's warm. It's not hot, it's warm. And then it continues to be warm. Temperature in the day, February 26th in the day, 73 degrees it hit. And then it went down, 64 in the evening. The 27th, so again, this is the night. So this is 26th into the 27th. But then, look what happens. It rains, 28th. And then by the evening, it's dropped, cold again. 29th, it's cold again. Now, on the 27th of February, they had a press conference, and Ken Widener talked about the concerns about the weather, that the weather was going to drop cold. It was going to rain, and it was going to drop cold.
Anticipation of the temperature dropping tomorrow and a chance for storms, is that going to change the search, or is it going to have any impact on his ability to survive?
We're concerned about the weather because we don't know exactly what he's dressed in, and we could have some flurries tomorrow. And the storms, so the wet, and you lose body temperature 30 times faster when you're wet than when you're dry in the air or in water. And so we're concerned about that and the chance that we could have flurries tomorrow and those dropping temperatures.
So they knew that that was coming. Is that the reason why they upgraded on the 27th to an amber alert? Jennifer Coffendaffer says, well, law enforcement said it was additional investigative efforts. And that could well be true. They got a good feel for the neighbourhood. They realised that Sebastian perhaps wasn't in the immediate neighbourhood, as they were hoping and maybe even expecting. So on the 27th, they upgraded it to an amber alert. Let's look at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation's criteria for an amber alert. And we've had this conversation relating to Summer Wells. They seem more likely than some other states to issue an amber alert. Summer Wells got an amber alert a day after Summer Wells went missing, the 15th of June 2021. They upgraded from an endangered child to an amber alert. It's the same situation as Sebastian Rogers, that she didn't appear to be in the immediate vicinity. You know, a little 5-year-old girl out on her own, you can understand why they would upgrade to an amber alert, even if law enforcement only have abduction as a theory rather than as a known thing. Juxtapose that with Idaho. Idaho are much stricter on how they issue amber alerts. That's what it seems to me anyway, because in July of 2021, so just a month after Summer Wells went missing, little Michael Vaughan went missing, 5-year-old, very comparable to Summer Wells. Michael didn't get an amber alert, and lots of people were befuddled as to why Michael Vaughan wouldn't get an amber alert. It turns out that Michael Vaughan was abducted. Summer Wells, we still have absolutely no idea what happened to Summer Wells 3.5 years later. But the amber alert for Summer is still active. Now, in Sebastian's case, 10 months down the line, we have no idea what happened to Sebastian. Law enforcement might know a little more than we do. But on the 27th of February, what did law enforcement know? And why did they upgrade it to an amber alert? Well, here's the criteria. In order to issue an amber alert, the following criteria must be met. The person is 17 years of age or younger. Yep, tick. The child is in imminent danger of bodily injury or death. So, on the 27th, why did they feel that Sebastian was in imminent danger of body injury or death? Like with Summer, you could say, well, very difficult terrain and she's only 5. Sebastian, it's potentially difficult terrain if he got into the woods and he's 15 rather than 5. But still, he's out on his own. He's got a medical condition. He has 6q27 chromosomal deletion syndrome. Everybody just mentions the autism, but he is autistic as well. And the amber alert says that it might be difficult for him to return on his own. He's been missing now for over 24 hours. He's out there on his own. He may have a problem getting home on his own, and the weather is due to drop cold. So he is in imminent danger of body injury or death. And there is a description of the child, the abductor, or the vehicle. So it only needs one of these three. So one of these three has to be in play, but we've got or. So description of the child, which we absolutely have. The abductor, no. Or a vehicle. So he fits that criteria because we've got a description of him. And then, on a request from another state for activation, there is a direct identified nexus to the state of Tennessee, and the information is conveyed to TBI at the time of the request. So that's not relevant to Sebastian. Sebastian went missing in Tennessee. Therefore, the TBI is the organisation that will issue the amber alert. So basically, for Sebastian, it's those top three. So abductor or vehicle is just one of the three that needs to be met. Now, in some cases, there might be all three. Like they know that the child was abducted by someone witnessed it, and they know a vehicle. Could be a parental abduction, so they'd know the abductor and the vehicle. Very often, Amber Alerts are issued in cases of parental abduction. Jennifer Coffindaffer, she's very much a member of the Green Team, Seth's little posse. So I guess that people are recommended her videos. I bet she's on the list of approved channels for Green Team members. Look, if you're a member of the Green Team, how do you feel about being told what channels you can watch? How do you feel about that as an adult? Groupthink bias, anyone? All right, Jennifer Coffindaffer gets some kind of credibility because she's an ex-FBI agent. Bobby, amongst some people, also gets some credibility because she's a neighbour. Well, no. Neither of these people have any more clout than anybody else. We don't know what happened to Sebastian. Therefore, everybody, including law enforcement, is theorising. So here's Bobby. And this is Bobby's little theory here.
I was so anti-Chris and Katie at first. But see, like, I think that Sebastian was so desperate for friends that it's very possible he could have been lured out to the car thinking he was meeting somebody.
So that was Crimson. Possibility that he could have been lured out to a car.
But he wasn't, because every single one of our neighbors that on that street, all of them looked at the ring cameras, and there was absolutely nothing showing that anyone came on that street to pick him up or walk out with him. And the only video footage that has not been released to the public that, like I said, someone I know was there at the command center and saw with their own two eyes somebody carrying him out the front door. And Chris even admits that on the audio when he was talking to non-divers. He specifically said that the dog said, went out the front door, turned to the left, went between the houses, exactly where the lights went. However, we were told on multiple occasions that there was zero dogs in.
All right, so I'm not going to get into the search dogs. You might be thankful in this video. I've got plenty of videos from recent and not so recent about search dogs. So you can very easily go and find my opinion about the search dogs. So there is footage, according to Bonkers Bobby, of Sebastian being carried out of the front door. How come then Sebastian taking out the trash on the Sunday night was just a silhouette? How come that you can see clearly Sebastian being carried out of the house? And then, her theory is that he wasn't put in a car on Stafford Court. No, he was carried between the houses and onto Kelling Lane. Then they disappeared him from there. And it was Katie that carried him out. And then Chris met her over the other side of the ditch. That's what Bobby believes happened. And Chris told on himself because he described the path that was taken. Bobby thinks that they then drowned him in the pond. So they didn't abduct him, they just took him out and drowned him in the pond. But she does say neighbours check their ring cameras on Stafford Court and there's no vehicle. If she accepts that ring cameras and surveillance systems would pick up a vehicle on Stafford Court, she also has to accept the cameras will pick up a vehicle coming onto Kelling Lane, because this house has a camera. These houses have cameras. So any vehicle whatsoever coming from the main road, so this could be any abductor's vehicle, or it could be Chris coming home in the middle of the night, or on the Sunday, or on the Friday, whenever people think he got home. It would also pick up Seth's vehicle as well. And it would pick up any other abductor's vehicle coming in or out. So if the abductor was a neighbour, then it would catch them coming out if Sebastian was taken in a vehicle. However, there is a route an abductor could have taken if this was incredibly planned out. And I've talked about this before, but it's via Ward Lane. And this is a drivable track. And it takes you all the way to the back end of the cemetery. Sebastian potentially was at the construction site. Now, it's debatable, and it's been debated very recently, whether Max the German Shepherd dove into that retention pond, which is there, because he was tracking Sebastian's scent. He got overexcited and jumped in the pond because the scent led him there. Or whether he was tracking someone else. Well, who else would have been there to lay a fresh scent who went in the pond or went right to the edge of the pond? Who else? There has to be somebody else out there for Max to have done that, doesn't there? So if Max isn't tracking Sebastian, who is he tracking? At 8:30, you see Rex, the other Sumner County Sheriff's Office German Shepherd, taking his handler to Bobby's backyard. Bobby needs to explain these things. I'm not saying that Bobby had anything to do with Sebastian's disappearance at all, but I don't know. It's interesting.
And I even asked the National Guard when they came with their dogs. I asked them, I said, did you guys get a scent? And they're like, well, we got something over in the construction site, but then it went away. I'm like, well, that's because nobody asked the people on the construction site. Nobody stopped the construction. They were building houses and moving dirt around while the dogs were over there searching for a trail. Well, no wonder why.
Well, that's a fair point. That's absolutely a fair point. She's right there.
They said that they got something in the yard, but that wasn't expected because he was outside in the yard. Other than that, there was no other picture.
Oh, it was outside in the yard, so... Really? At least on the Sunday night, he was taking out the trash. But the dog took the handler the other way, then down the driveway. Just saying.
So he didn't just walk out of his house on his own feet.
I'll have to look. I haven't looked at the Mob Cruise video. It's been sent to me, but I haven't.
Don't look at the Mob Cruise video. Don't waste your time. Because everybody, Bobby and Jen, Coffindaffer, are all thinking that the mob crew is wonderful and the lights were in between the houses. They couldn't possibly have been between the houses, but we've talked about that previously as well.
I haven't looked at that yet.
That one where he shares the audio between Chris and the Dark Divers, where he was telling the Dark Divers exactly where the dogs were and where he literally tells you exactly what my neighbor told Steven and I today the lights were at. I mean, it was like, when I heard that, the first thing I thought was, and I told my neighbor, I said, oh my God, Chris basically just admitted exactly where they took him.
But how did Chris get there? Because if Chris was there, how did his vehicle get into the area? Did he leave his vehicle somewhere else and he walked along? He walked along the road. Okay.
That blew my mind.
See, I'm going to have to say, Bobby, I don't agree with you. I think that if he was there and he was watching the dogs...
He wasn't, but I think that was a lie. There was no, I asked multiple times, every one of the officers that had their dogs out here, every one of them said there was no trail. There was no trail from his house to the construction site. They have no idea how he went from his house over to the construction site. I went out there and I watched the dogs walking.
But that's what's weird, though, because when I talked to Danny and the other guy that was running the dogs, they told me that their dogs, there was also a third dog who was much younger that tracked also, lost the track after it went past that one house, and after that, the dog tried to, do some, he was just too young. He obviously was not ready for the field. They actually ended up pulling that dog back.
That's interesting. I'm not really sure what he's getting at there, that a dog that was there was too young or something.
I don't know about that one. I just know that the sheriff's department had dogs. The TBI came in and the National Guard brought their dogs. And every time we ever asked them, it was, there was not enough of a scent trail. There was a scent trail around his house, but it didn't lead us anywhere. And we were expecting that because of his house.
Okay, again, go back and watch my previous videos about search dogs, because we're not talking about search dogs in this video. In conclusion, what can we say about the Amber Alert? Did they issue the Amber Alert on the 27th because it became clear to them that Sebastian potentially had been abducted? They wouldn't have analysed all the camera footage from the area by the 27th. They would have had Katie, Chris and Seth's phones by that time. But the FBI and the Secret Service probably wouldn't have had enough time to go through like old Sebastian's accounts and games console, etc. That takes time. And if they wanted information from social media companies, then they'd have to issue subpoenas and wait for those to come back. So I think, honestly, it was just a combination of he's not in the immediate neighbourhood, he's special needs, therefore he's less able to get himself home if he wanted to than an average 15-year-old, and the weather was due to drop cold. That was the situation. But was Sebastian abducted? It's absolutely possible he was, but not from Stafford Court or Kelling Lane in a vehicle, or else that vehicle would have been seen. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.